Hey now everybody, this is Professor Island, and today we're talking about paper formatting, and specifically this is a discussion about the minimum requirements for English 103 papers. Every paper that you do for me is a research paper, and to that extent you are going to be applying not only direct quotation from the primary source, your poem, your play, your story, but also from secondary sources, your research. And in fact, I'm looking for a minimum, absolute minimum, one quotation from the primary source and one quotation from a secondary source in each body paragraph. I assigned 2 papers in this class. The first paper is going to be 5 to 7 pages. The count does not include the works cited page, which is in addition, but the 5 to 7 pages would be your discussion of critical perspectives applied to the work that you've chosen, and usually that first work for that first paper is going to be a poem. That means you must declare the critical perspective in each paragraph as you use it, and I'm looking for that critical perspective to be named within the first 2 sentences of that paragraph. I don't want to go through this entire thing of following you along and then figure out that you're doing, from your perspective, a Marxist criticism. Instead, let me know what you're doing from the outset and then support it by using both the primary and secondary text. Body paragraphs themselves should be no less than 10 sentences, but more ideally 15, 25, 30. A paragraph that is more than a page is not a problem if it's all on the same topic, and if that biographical criticism is really relevant to that particular work and it takes a page and a half for you to explain all the elements of the song that relate to that, then that is fine. Keep in mind that you're looking for a 10 to 12 font. Make sure that the margins are 1 inch on the sides and on the bottom, 1.5 on the top. Make sure that you're not, trying to pad it by either pulling your margins in or making your font bigger. Especially when you send something to me as an attachment, I'm going to just change it back to what it's supposed to be. And if your paper's short, it is a fail. Likewise, a paper that is overly long. If I tell you 5 to 7 pages and you give me 9 pages, that is not better. That means you don't know when to stop. It means you're not following directions, and that will decrease your grade. Your final paper is going to be 7 to 10 pages. This will generally be on a larger work. So it could be on a play, it could be on a story. It might be on lyrics again, if that's your choice, but it probably would be more like an album or a collection of lyrics as your primary source. And then obviously you're going to need your secondary sources. Again, you're going to be looking for longer paragraphs, identifying the critical perspective within each paragraph as you go. And probably 4 to 7 critical perspectives will fill up that particular assignment depending on how long your paper is. For all intents and purposes, the reason I give you these formatting rules is because I'm looking for your ability to develop the argument to a certain extent and at the same time to know when to call it quits, to know when to say, I've said enough about this and I'm going to move on. Make sure you follow the formatting issues, otherwise it will affect your grade. Obviously, content is important as well, but the format, and that's what a lot of people ask me about is, hey, how long does this paper need to be? Make sure you stay within the formatting guidelines, and that will reflect positively on your paper. Stay in touch.